Beijing is reporting its first case of the Omicron variant. China is blaming it on a piece of mail from Canada. The federal health minister seemed surprised by that claim when asked about it this morning.
Well, to be very honest with you, I don't know where that is coming from, and we'll check with officials and our partners around the world. I think this is something but not only new, but intriguing, and certainly not in accordance with what we have done both internationally and domestically.
Beijing hosts the Winter Olympic Games in less than 3 weeks now. So what might the arrival of Omicron in China mean for Team Canada, for the athletes? What does China's finger pointing indicate? Dick Pound is a Canadian member of the International Olympic Committee. He is in Vero Beach, Florida. Well, sir, thank you for joining us. I'd like to start with the case detected in Beijing. What kind of discussions did that trigger at the IOC?
Well, it's more a kind of a regular follow-up as the situation evolves. So, in a city of God knows how many millions Beijing would be at the moment, a few dozen cases are not by themselves upsetting, particularly with the bubble that they've created going back to earlier this month, so that it's probably the most secure place on the face of the planet at this point from a COVID perspective. So the key is, to get there before you get infected. And if you get there before you're infected, you're good until the end of the games.
You're relaxed about it. Some families of athletes or athletes themselves might be a bit more worried. Any questions or concerns expressed to you by Team Canada as the games get closer?
I think their concern is, I forget what percentage of our team, but it's significant, are traveling elsewhere for qualifications and training and so on. And what they're worried about is getting exposed where they're training and not being able to get on a plane to Beijing. But if you are healthy enough to get on and you arrive and you're tested and you're put right in the bubble, starting from when you arrive in the airport, you couldn't be safer.
A few weeks ago, you told our colleagues at CBC News Network that it would take something apocalyptic to postpone these games. What constitutes apocalyptic in your mind at this point?
Oh, this would be a massive outbreak that affects not just China, but the world at large. And there aren't signs of that at the moment. People have caught on to the need to do the masks and the safe distancing and not mingle too closely with other people. So in that sense, people have woken up to the preventive measures that will enable you to get to Beijing. And once you're in Beijing, as I say, it'll probably be the safest place in the world while the games are on.
Chinese officials, as you may have heard, are trying to put the blame on that Omicron case in Beijing on Canada, saying it was transmitted from a piece of mail from this country. Given the recent tensions between the Chinese and Canadian governments, given that accusation today, should Canadian athletes be concerned about going to Beijing?
I don't think so. When you get into the bubble, the competitive bubble and the training bubble, everybody will be healthy, and there's no interaction with anybody from outside the bubble from the moment you get to the airport to the moment you get on a plane to go home.
Not so much in terms of health. On that issue, I mean, should they feel that they could be targeted by Chinese entities given the friction between our two governments at this point?
Well, Canada's not the only country that has difficulties with China. I think they will be on their best behavior. I mean, it's simply not on for a host country to be doing something that would endanger the games and athletes in the games. So, no, I would be quite confident that things will be fine once you get there.
COVID is the overarching concern in a lot of ways, but cybersecurity certainly, sir, has to be a very close second. We know several countries are recommending that athletes actually bring burner phones so that their own personal devices are not surveilled by China. What is the IOC doing on that front to help protect athletes?
I think what the IOC is doing is saying, listen, this is a concern that's been expressed by many people. You should be aware of that, and you should make your own decision as to whether you come with your regular, iPads and iPhones and so forth, or whether you get the special ones on which you don't have all this personal information. You bring them with you to Beijing, and when you get home, you get them cleaned up or you throw them away.
Will the IOC be providing that kind of assistance, that kind of equipment for the teams?
No. I think that's a matter for the teams, country by country, to decide.
But they didn't choose the country that they're participating in, right? And that country has a lot of security and cybersecurity concerns in particular. So why not go that extra mile then for the teams?
Well, what we do as the IOC is to be careful that we provide information, but we're not going to get into the business of guaranteeing cybersecurity or health or anything else of that nature. We just want people to be informed, to guide their own conduct accordingly, and decide whether they A, want to come to Beijing, and B, what they want to bring with them.
What do you think it says about these games, though, given that cybersecurity in particular and other issues, human rights abuses against Uyghur Muslims, the crackdowns in Hong Kong, what does that say about these games?
About the games, nothing. It may say something about the host country or elements within the host country, but I mean the games actually don't involve governments. Oddly enough, I mean all our relations are with national Olympic committees, with the International Sports Federation, and the Beijing Organizing Committee, and so the business of government goes on outside of that, and you've seen other governments around the world saying this is not going to affect our presence as a country or as a government in Beijing, and others like Canada and the States and Britain and so forth say, listen, we support the games and our athletes participating in them, but we are not going to express or do anything that would express or suggest that we agree with Chinese government policy.
Given everything that's going on, though, why are sports above the political fray? Why should the IOC get a pass on human rights issues?
Well, it's not a pass on that issue. It's one that is not within the competence of the IOC to deal with. We understand perfectly well that we're not able to change state conduct. What we do is to say, look, we have a formula, non-discrimination and all of those things that go with it, that every 4 years works. All of these people from 206 different countries, if you're talking about a Summer Games, live together, compete together, train together, discrimination-free. It can work. And that's I've always thought that if something goes wrong at the Olympic Games, there's inordinate disappointment all through the world, and it's because they thought, the games should work, and nothing should interfere with the fact that the games have this opportunity every 4 years to demonstrate that it is possible to live differently than otherwise in a very polarized and political world.
You think these games can still go ahead and still be unifying in some way?
Yes, for sure. When the games start, you find that a lot of the doubts and the opposition to them just melt away when people around the world see these athletes competing together. Often from countries that are very tense with each other and with different political objectives and systems. But when the kids get on the field of play, that's really different and really special, and everybody loves to see it.
Dick Pound, thank you for your time.
Anytime, thanks.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.